Hey, this is Notser, and today we're taking a look at the Tier 7 British Battleship Rook. This is an up-and-coming ship that will be joining the rest of the British fleet with the Battlecruiser line that will be introduced in Early Access 11.6 and then full release 11.8. I'm going to showcase this match, talk about my impressions of the ship, all the different equipment, and the traits that make up. The commander build and the module build are on screen. It's my typical tanky cruiser, battle cruiser build, so I opt to sub out fire prevention for concealment. Everything else is standard fare as far as I'm concerned, and it works quite well with this build. The gun caliber is 381, so the AP doesn't have huge overmatch advantage at Tier 7, especially in this matchup because we are bottom tier. This is a Tier 9 match. So we have to be very creative with our shot location and selection to be successful. The high explosive lacks extra HE penetration, which the mainline British Battleship line gets the benefit from. But of course, it doesn't get benefit of other traits, and I'll go into those. Maximum dispersion is using the Battlecruiser dispersion pattern, so it's much improved over in the equivalent Tier 7 British Battleship, for example, that has equivalent stats. And obviously the Battlecruiser dispersion benefit is a huge selling point to going down a Battlecruiser line, whether it be German or British. The other selling points, there are torpedoes in the hull of the ship, and unlike the Tier 8 Hawk, the torpedoes in this hull are actually in the back half. And once again, they do sort of a snake maneuver until they run straight. There is no homing effect on it. It's just the solution that Wargaming has chosen in this instance. It looks a little weird, but I guess it works. I haven't really had much success with that. But got an enemy Buffalo showing a lot of broadside, and I wanted to lead him in the direction he was headed, and we do quite a bit of damage. For those of you not familiar, the British AP has short fuse, so it is especially effective against cruisers and, honestly, superstructure shots. So anytime you're firing, that's where you want to primarily aim, unless, of course, you can get the Citadel, which not really going to happen at this range, but we're just going to do some good damage while our team attempts to capture the base. As it is right now, they're just contesting it, and we get a little bit of extra damage, but overall, we're just trying to disengage and punish those that deserve to be punished, whether it be those DDs or that Buffalo cruiser. Don't really care too much about the battleships that are super far away. The Iowa, for example, can't possibly reach him. And that is one of the downsides of this line, the lack of gun range and the lack of aircraft to enhance that gun range. It's not an option. You have to sail up to your target, and in a meta that's this pulled back, sometimes that can be frustrating. But with the improved concealment that this ship and all of the British Battlecruisers bring to the table, you still have a decent advantage against those guys. Now, I note that the enemy Mogami, who's backing up, friendly punishes him, but the Mogami instantly goes forward, and we miss out on that salvo. It was so close, and we actually bump into a friendly there. Now, the Rook, not half bad looking ship. Looks pretty good. It looks kind of like a natural progression from the Hood and the Admiral class of battleships that they built at the end of World War I. It obviously is not exactly. There's tweaks to the formula, but that's what roughly the aesthetic reads to me. It works out pretty well. I don't have much issue with it. And because this is a British battleship, it does get the British depth charge airstrike, but you know what? It has a pretty interesting 2 options versus the 3 that I believe become available at Tier 8 or Tier 9. So, overall, that's a decent anti-submarine. Really, the thing that makes it anti-submarine more than anything is it's just really nimble, and that helps a lot. And the acceleration stop-start, really, really nice when it comes to trying to maneuver around torpedoes, and you definitely feel that. Again, regular damage control party, regular heal. We have engine boost, And then we also have defensive AA. Now, the heal is not a super heal. It is a typical heal for this tier, and as such, that's what you have to bring to the table. You know, you have to work within what is available. They do kind of... So this is the thing with the builds in the game. You obviously know recommended builds. Recommended build for this line is a little exotic. It really wants you to go like a fire dot, burn, buff, enhance build. I don't really see the reason to be so exotic with your build, because it's kind of the same issue as a secondary had in the past. You would invest so much into making this effectiveness, well, it wouldn't actually be effective, because it would just be so expensive that you would have to give up on so many other important parts of the ship's effectiveness. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, do I go for the recommended build because I'm not familiar with the line, or do I continue using a tried and true battleship build and make it work? And I have found making it work with the tried and true is a better overall package. It does have a couple weaknesses that are pretty glaring in this matchup. I have 16mm bow and stern. That is a lot lower armor protection than you would normally expect on a Tier 7 battleship. Tier 7 battleships generally have closer to 25 or 26mm on their bow, which is a big jump up from the 16, but the 16 is the next step down. And that's the weakness of the battlecruiser in general, is the nose cone and the stern are a little bit softer on average than any other battleship at its tier. And since it's British, it has the softest of the softest, 25 or 16, depending on the tier, as the Germans get the 27 benefit, which, you know, not every target will you ever notice that, but certain targets you do. You know, some French 380, 381, the small gun caliber that's just barely enough to get over 25, or, you know, it's, or just under it, you know. If you can get over 25 but not 27, well, then that is obviously a break point that changes the matchup in favor or not. Now, we got a pretty good citadel on that Buffalo. We punished him pretty well. And I noticed that, you know, my team isn't really interested in staying close to the objective. Big shocker, right? And they decided to move back so far that there wasn't really anyone else to shoot at other than me. And I'm not really a direct fire 3 or 4 ships. It has to be 1 versus 1. That is one thing that I will definitely encourage battlecruiser players to emphasize, is the 1 versus 1. You don't have the armor to take on multiple targets and withstand it effectively. Someone will have angle to punish you, or you'll just be so preoccupied that they'll be easier to hit the hitbox that is the weakest, like the 16mm in this example. Enemy Mogami, this is the one that was behind the island playing acceleration. He stops because he finds that he's going into a bad spot. Well, he stops right in front of us, and, well, we take him out. We get a citadel, destroy him. He fires off a token amount of high explosive, but, you know, at the end of the day, he's dead, and we're alive. And we still have 2 extra bases on the enemy, and, you know, not bad. Now, I like the way that this map is developing, because there's multiple enemies that are basically keeping an island in between their teammates. So I can easily, aggressively push forward, and we get this nice broadside Buffalo, and we lead him down to the bottom. Another citadel, another kill on a cruiser, and there's only 2 enemy ships in this area left, with 1 hipper dying very, very quickly. Yes, there he goes. And then all that's left is the Synop. Now, the Synop has way more armor penetration than I can ever stop. I just have to hope that he doesn't want to shoot us. I'm going to shoot him kind of in the superstructure. We get 4 ricochets, because it dips just a little bit, but a friendly lands a nice broadside from the western side of the map, and just need a couple friendlies finish him off. Lightning and his best friends take out the enemy Synop, and we have control of the middle of the map. Now, we did lose DD touch on the east side, and the enemy is pushing up. So this is creating a potential broadside situation, and this Iowa is definitely my primary, and I'm hoping that he'll flatten out and we'll be able to shoot over the island. We are not exactly the best target to be firing over the island, and he is close enough that it's difficult to do that, but I definitely am trying to sail as quickly as I can into this position, and we look for the waterline shot, and he angles just in time to avoid any potential citadel. But the 381's not bad. Akizuki comes across, and he's firing on us. He has more than enough penetration for our nose, and if he just keeps shooting it, like he seems to be, he's going to do a lot of damage. And obviously I noticed that he's sending torpedoes, so I'm trying to break for the opening. We are unable to reach the opening in time before the torpedo makes contact, and I just have to eat it. But we send 7 shells, well, we send all our shells, and 6 of them hit the Aki for nearly 6,000 damage, so we need maybe 1.5, 1.25, and we should knock him out. Obviously, that means 2 more salvos. And note the enemies. They have reversed course, and they are coming to the north side. So they are intending to assist their teammate. And because they intend to assist their teammate, I want to shorten this as much as possible. Now, we do get 4 shells for penetration damage, which is good. Not that it really matters, because battleship penetration is always 10% against DDs, but it's nice to get 4 shells. He sends out a second set, and the only way he could send that out is with torpedo reload boosters, so we know that he is dry for now. He'll have to wait another 2 minutes to have another set of 4, so I'm just going to retreat back and try and drop off. Enemy Iowa is obviously aggressively pushing to the north, and I return the favor with some torpedoes. Now, the single launch torpedoes, 8-kilometer range, probably not going to hit him, and quite honestly, we have a lot of fire burn on us. This is one of the aspects of this line that's just really scary to me, and I don't really see how they're going to fix it. And oh, the worst timing. If this North Carolina would have been spotted, and I don't have any aircraft to spot, I could have probably broadsided him. As it stands, we're going to take torpedoes from one of the other 2 DDs, and yeah. We were 12 points away from finishing it off. Probably could have finished it all off if that North Carolina was broadside. We get knocked out, and the game is going to go on a little bit longer. But the Rook worked pretty well. It does lack a lot of health, and that does mean that concentrated fire, whether it be Citadel or high explosive with fire, it's going to hurt you a lot. And there's no real way around that, and you don't get a super heal, and you don't get super awesome armor. It's a tough one, being bottom tier in this type of ship. It's almost like you're even further behind because of the nose. You just have to be so careful that you don't get too close to the target and make an easy shot. Because the Aki certainly could easily hit that 16mm bow and do as much damage as he wanted to. And you gotta ride that medium to long range line where you're far enough away that you can drop off detection, but you're close enough that you can actually hit him, and you're not too close that he can hit you really hard. That's the dynamic that has to be at play with this line, and, Rook in general. But, we showed off the 7 pretty well in a tier 9 match, 118,000 damage done, 2 kills, 3 citadels. Not half bad, 2,000 base XP. If you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Notser. My North American recruit invite's on the screen as well. Thank you again, and I hope you have a wonderful day.